Basically, this guy right here is a gigantic garter snake. Now, to those of you unfamiliar with snakes, first thing you might think of is cold and slimy. And like I said, cold-blooded just means he's the same temperature as his environment, and I did just pull him out of a warm cage, so he is really warm right now. As for being slimy, snakes, they have absolutely no reason to be slimy, therefore they just simply are not. They do, however, have very smooth, shiny scales, and I guess from a distance that could give a snake a slime-like appearance. Some snakes they actually have ridges running down the back of each scale, which makes them look much more shiny, and it makes them quite abrasive to the touch. This guy is actually right about to shed, that's why he's so dull looking, and if you look closely, his eyes are almost a grayish blue color. He'll be shedding probably in the next couple of days. Now, if you look really closely, you're going to occasionally notice this snake sticking out that forked tongue from time to time. Don't worry, he's not being rude, he's just simply smelling his environment. The tongues of many snakes and lizards are used to do this. What he does is he sticks that forked tongue out, collects particles in the air, then brings it back into his mouth. There, he's going to press it against his upper jaw to an organ called the Jacobson's organ. Now, the sense of smell, it is very important to a snake, seeing as they have poor eyesight and are practically deaf. They rely on that sense of smell a lot, especially when it comes to identifying their food. Now, this snake I'm holding right here, as well as a couple other species, they will simply just grab onto their prey and proceed to swallow it. Now, swallowing food while it's still alive, it ensures a really fresh meal, but it can have its drawbacks. The animal being swallowed is most likely gonna object to being eaten, probably violently so. That could actually hurt the snake. Gives that animal a lot of time to resist, scratch, and bite on the animal. Oftentimes we'll see wild-caught specimen with all kinds of past injuries and scars from those animals resisting. It would be a lot safer and more effective to kill the animal first and then eat it, and that is what a majority of snake species do. Now, if you go up in the dome, you're going to see a lot of different types of boas and python. Now, they actually use something called constriction to kill their prey. What they are going to do is they're going to bite onto their prey and then wrap coils around it. Now, they do that so fast, it's basically a blur to the human eye. Once the coils are wrapped around that prey animal, every time that animal takes a breath or exhales, that snake, it's going to tighten its grip. Animal takes another breath, it tightens tighter, and so on and so forth, till that animal can no longer breathe, and eventually it just dies of suffocation. Constrictors don't crush their prey, like a lot of people seem to think. Actually, if you were to examine dead prey right after it's been constricted, you'll notice very few, if any, bones are even broken. And that's not from the actual constricting process, it's usually just from the strike itself, if there are any broken ones. Now, all snakes obviously don't have any limbs. Their teeth curve towards the back of their mouth and are needle-like, so it cannot tear its food up or bite off chunks. Instead, this animal has got to swallow its food whole. That's not nearly the limitation you might think it to be. Seeing as snakes, they don't have a chin, and their lower jawbone does not connect in the middle. So the only limit to how wide this snake can open its mouth is actually the limit to which its skin can stretch. Luckily enough, snakes, they do have very elastic skin, so he could probably eat something several times his own diameter. A snake this size will probably feed him a frozen thawed rat about once a week. In all reality, that's quite a bit of food for one of these animals, seeing as they can make it months, even up to a year without food, because they have a very slow metabolism. More effective, though, than constriction or the way this guy eats would be through the use of venom. And the reason being is constriction and this kind of killing, it requires a lot of physical contact with an animal. Like I said before, that can be dangerous. Well, much more effective would be through the use of venom. Again, it requires very little contact with the animal, making it a lot safer. Now, there are a couple questions I can answer about the Caribou before I put him away. This snake right here, it's called a mangrove snake, and it is one of those rear-fanged venomous snakes. Now, the mangrove snake, it does not have the ability to truly inject its venom, since its fangs do sit at the very back of its mouth. Instead, what this snake has to do is it has to strike and bite onto its prey, then work that prey to the very back of its mouth. And then it's going to have to sit there long enough to allow the venom to run down those grooves or channels and into the wound. It's a little bit easier to understand how that system came around when we realized that even the world's most toxic snake venom, it is simply just a modified form of saliva. It doesn't just kill the prey, it also aids in digestion. So a lot of people, they theorize that early snakes developed those grooves or channel in their teeth just to allow saliva to run into prey to start digestion. And over time, that saliva developed toxins, which also aided in killing the prey as well. Now, due to the inefficient fang system of the snake, oftentimes rear fang snakes will use constriction to kill their prey as well. And the vast majority of rear fang snakes' venom is not toxic enough to kill something, say, the size of a human. There are, however, 2 exceptions to that rule. In this case, it'd be the bird snake and the boom slang. Both of those are rear fang venomous snakes, and they both have caused human fatalities. We do, in fact, have one of those boom slangs on display upstairs in the Sky Dome, if you want to check that out after the show. Now, that being said, just because a bite from one of these mangrove snakes would not kill you, it would by no means be a pleasant experience. It would actually cause severe swelling and massive tissue damage of the affected area. People will be sick 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks at a time. Again, it wouldn't kill you, and that really is the most important part.
So why do you hold it?
Well, I don't hold it all that much, and depends on how you hold it. Sometimes it's actually easier to handle venomous snakes by tailing them and holding their tail, control them, keep where their head is. But yeah, I won't be like, you won't see me holding like a cobra or anything, don't worry.